fight. Khabib has just cracked Conor in the chin. Conor's gone for a wobble, fallen over, and at this point he's a bit discombobulated. He's not as mobile as he was. I mean, you watch this fight and they're both swinging for the fences. If any of the punches had landed, it had been over for either of them. We're going to see Khabib shooting for a double. But what, I mean, the accuracy of of Conor is absolutely fantastic. Watch where he puts this uppercut. Look how close this uppercut is to finishing this fight. Just misses. Just misses. Again, we looked at the last video with the first takedown and how the knee could have finished the fight. I mean, that uppercut could have finished the fight, definitely. So Khabib, luckily, does not get punched in the head and shoots through. He's got his hands together already. Conor was not ready for this double leg. He was thinking about punching Khabib in the head. So what's Conor doing at this point? Conor's thinking, oh shit. But he knows he needs to get himself against the cage. Khabib's going to drive him to the cage anyway. He's got his hands together at this point, which means that Conor's in a lot of trouble. Head and ear are on the hip. He's trying to separate out. He's trying to push down on the head. He's got into the oil check position, I like to call it. He's got a grip on the backside just to keep his shoulders over the top of Khabib. Khabib's just going to drive him into the cage. So he's driven into the cage. We've got a decision here from Conor. He's got a decision to either lift the head or drive the head down now. Normally if the head's below the waist, we would like to drive it down. Normally if the head's above the waist, we would like to lift it up. That's kind of like, there's lots of different ideas on it. But that's how I kind of look at it. It's about waist height. Some people would say about where the thigh is. It all depends on your own style. But he's got a choice to drive the head down or lift the head up. So he can go under the chin and lift it, or he can push down. This really is not doing anything at the moment, apart from looking really rude. So he's driven to the cage. He's managed to keep his hands together. And I think the bounce off the cage causes that grip to pop. I really do. I think the grip pops. So usually Khabib will not let go of this. But in this case, I think his grip pops. Or maybe he's switching out to the single. I don't think he is, personally. I think his grip pops. And this is now getting better for Conor. So he's starting to drive the head down. Still don't really know what he's doing here. I'm hopefully going to see him go out for the overhook. He needs to get his legs a bit wider apart, otherwise he's screwed. So Khabib's going to move on. And he does go to the single leg. Alright, so he's going to take his hands together. And he's taking his hands together in a way that he really prefers, which is the C grip. And we'll discuss the C grip in a minute. At the same time, this foot, which was here, is now stepped up and it goes into the control zone. That means that he can power our friend Conor into the sky. And normally off this, it would be a leg sweep from Khabib. That's what he's normally going for. But we'll see what happens with this one. Conor, lots of pressure down. He's trying to reach for the wrist to separate the hands. He's going to try and pull this arm up and pull this arm out. Hasn't really got time for that. This over-under grip is now in on the hip. Oh, that sounds good. And if we were to see the hands, we would see the palm of his right hand facing the cage, and we would see the palm of his left hand facing him. So we would have this hook thing. And what that does is that it forms like a loose joint that can flex around the grip around the hips. It means it can move up and down a lot easier. Khabib will pull this elbow in to tighten it, and he will lift this elbow up slightly. As he steps in, he will just drive himself up the cage and he will stand up. And as soon as he stands up, that's Conor's kind of screwed. Now Conor is still maintaining his balance, still got his weight over here. What he's hoping is that when Khabib tries to drop him to the floor, that he'll be able to keep his centre of gravity over his feet. But that's kind of an impossibility. So we can't see it very well, but what Khabib has done is he's lifted him off the cage. So he's kind of leaning him towards the centre of the cage. So he's moved his hips off the centre of the cage. He's now going to pendulum Conor's hips in this direction. So he's going to swing the hips out. He's going to swing the hips out and lift them, okay? So he's going to lift and swing those hips. So he's doing like a nice back arch. He's driving his head in the direction that he wants Conor's head to go, and he's swung those hips out here. The hook that he's got is deep. It's up around here. We can't see it for our man here, but we can see that he's swinging those hips through. And then what he's going to do is at the top of the swing, he's going to change direction, and he's going to swing Conor's back or his hip towards the ground here. So he swings the hip through and takes him to the ground. So he's going to bring that leg across his body. He's going to drive with his head and take him to the ground. Really straightforward, really easy. Conor's not really had any defense in this at all. It's just very, very straightforward, very simple. It doesn't show any real chaining of the moves. But yeah, if you can do it, good luck. I mean, it does kind of set up into his single leg sweep here if you wanted to. I think Conor would be really hard to take down with that though. I think he really needs to get his centre of gravity out from underneath him, looking at what he does. So, really good techniques. Try it if you can. I do think it had a lot to do with Conor being discombobulated at this point. He wasn't moving as fluid as he had done before the punch. But if you've got any ideas or comments of what I've just said, that's great. I hope it's in understandable language. I've had some people say that when I'm using wrestling language, it makes it difficult for normal people, whatever normal people are, to understand. But good luck with it, and I hope you kill everybody.